Hi, my name is John Ruddle, and this is a demo of Ignite JHipster, a React Native boilerplate for JHipster apps. This demo assumes you have working knowledge of JHipster. First of all, we're going to start by generating a JHipster backend. The important choices are the authentication type, which is either JWT, OAuth2, or UAA, and the only other option that currently matters is Elasticsearch search engine, which is one of the backend options. So once you run JHipster and generate the backend, it will create all the files and install the dependencies. Once that finishes, you will have a complete web app set up for you. So the next step we're going to do is to create an entity. We're going to create a simple bank account sample entity, just with the name of bank account and two fields, the first being a name and the second being an amount. And we're using JDL, which is one of the JHipster features. So we can import the JDL file into our JHipster application, and it will generate all the required files for us. It will also wire all the files together so they will load correctly. And as you can see, it's generating and building the project. There we are. So the next step we're going to be doing after we have our entity in our JHipster application is to start the app. So we're starting the backend with Maven, and it will take a few seconds to load up, and eventually it will be located or available on port 8080 on localhost. So let's load that in our browser, log in with the default username admin and admin. Check out our bank account entity, create a new one. Let's do John with an amount of 100. You can see it creates it, saves it in a database. We're going to create a second entity, Amy, an amount of 200. And you can see the search engine, which uses Elasticsearch, is functional. That's all we need on our back end and front end of the web app. So now we're going to get into the actual Ignite JHipster project. So here we're going to run the ignite command, generate the application, choose our authentication type, which we chose JWT earlier. We also enabled Elasticsearch. And then the next few questions are optional. You can choose to install the Ignite development screens, which provide some sample screens that provide information like device information or component examples. And then we're also installing the Ignite JHipster boilerplate, which contains all the authentication and other JHipster specific features that are useful in Ignite. The other options are animatable, which is, you can choose an animation library, and we include the vector icons library in all projects. So this includes, Font Awesome, Ionicons, and several other options for you to use in your mobile application. So once the app is ready, it will give you instructions to start it in an emulator. So when we change directory to the application and run React Native run iOS, it will build and package the project into an iOS app, which will deploy on a local emulator. Note that the iOS emulator is only available on Mac, but you can also use the Android emulator on other operating systems. So after a few minutes, you can see that the Facebook React Native packager is packaging up your application, and the iOS emulator is loading those files. So we're going to start out with a tour of the basic generated application, starting with the Ignite dev screens. Here you can see the Components tab, which contains all the components generated in the application and examples. The plugin examples screen, we used vector icons, so that shows up there. Any other Ignite plugins add their examples to that screen. The theme screen contains different colors and styles for text that you can use throughout your application. And the device info screen shows important information about devices, such as the user agent, screen height, width, operating system version, and device UUID. Alright, now to the regular app. We have the register screen, the forgot password screen, and then you can log in as well. And we're logging in with the default user account. User, that's the username, and user is the password. And you can see in the background is authenticating the user and logging in. Now, once logged in, you can see the entities page, which will be blank because we haven't generated any yet. So, to generate an entity in the Ignite JHipster app, you simply run ignite generate entity and bank account, which is the name we used earlier in this tutorial. You enter the path to your JHipster project, which was Ignite JHipster Backend, and it will load the configuration and generate the entity for you. So you can see all those different files have changed. When we reload the application, you can go to the entities page, and the bank account entity will be present. You can go to it, see each individual entity, edit the entities, change the fields, and then you can also search the entities. So if we search Amy or John, just those related entities will show up. And lastly, you can create an entity. So it's just like on the web version, but a complete mobile application. So there it is at the bottom, number 13, Chris, perfect. So, in summary, this was a full demo of the Ignite JHipster React Native boilerplate for JHipster apps and its current available features as of version 1. This is available on GitHub and is open source, so any feedback, questions, or contributions are definitely welcome. Thank you very much.